Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to my talk. My name is Mariatta, and I have laid claim to fame. I appeared in the Python documentary, and I think in the same outfit, you might seen it. and if you haven't watched it, I think it has more than 1 million views already, so go watch it. And the story that I shared in the documentary is that my journey into becoming who I am right now. And it really started 11 years ago when I attended this conference, PyCon US, and it was such an impactful event. It's just a turning point in my life. It changed my life. And it kick-started my journey into Python and open source community until eventually appearing in the documentary. And it's because the Python community and the conferences mean so much to me. And since then, I've been trying to give back by helping to create that same experience, to give others the opportunity to meet, to speak, to engage with the community. I want to provide that access to others by helping make conference happen. And so since then, I have become 9-time serial conference organizer. I've run PyCascades 3 times. I've run PyCon US 3 times, and PyLadiesCon 3 times. No, there is no pattern. And being conference chair for various different conferences, it gives me really unique perspective and insights of how conferences actually happen. So how does a conference happen? What makes a conference a conference? There's really a lot kind of messy things going on when you make a conference, especially a community conference like this happen. Like, yeah, you know, you have speakers, sponsorships, catering, travel grants, code of conduct, enforcement, ticketing. There's a lot of things going on. And all of this takes time and money. You know, money makes everything happen. So when I decided to join the PyLadiesCon team, I thought, oh yeah, I'm experienced. I know how this works. I will bring my experience and I will help. This is going to be easy. I know everything there is to know about conference organizing. But then I started actually running the event, and I realized I was wrong. Running PyLadiesCon is so different than anything else, and I had to adjust my attitude and my mindset, and I'm relearning everything all over again. What is PyLadiesCon? It is a fully online conference. It spans 24 hours nonstop, and we serve the global PyLadies community. We strive for inclusivity, accessibility, affordability. It's actually free to attend. It's fully volunteer-based, and it's multilingual. In our conference, you never have to say sorry for not speaking English. And this is some interesting stats about how the volunteers at PyLadiesCon. So last year we have 152 people signing up who wants to volunteer and help out. We have to review each one of these, and we have to check their skills, availability, and see if there's a match with what we need in the team. And we accepted like 70 people, and being a global conference, the volunteers speak a lot of different languages, not just English, Japanese, Thai, Korean, German, a lot of different languages. And also because of the global community, global audience, we need global time zones. We need to fill 24 hours of programming, so we have a lot of talks, a lot of speakers to coordinate with, and speakers get to speak in whatever language they want, whatever they feel comfortable in. And as a result, we have speakers, keynotes speaking in 6 different languages. So just to compare how PyLadiesCon is compared to other conferences you might be familiar with, like in terms of volunteers, we're almost as big as EuroPython. In terms of numbers of talks and speakers, it's closer to PyCon US, not as close, but closer to what EuroPython is, which is also a big conference. In terms of language support, most other conferences are just supporting one language, or maybe bilingual. We have to deal with translating 6 different languages. But our leadership team, the core organizer, is so much smaller than all of these big events. And you know, conference needs money. We're a free event, and it makes it even more challenging. And we also serve and we are accountable to the Global PyLadies community. We work with PyLadies chapters. We always try to get them involved and share their videos. And we also work with the PyLadies Global Council. And as part of the PyLadies community, we work with the PSF, who is our fiscal sponsor. So now you know how a conference usually happens. You know what PyLadiesCon is. How are we different than all of these events? How do we make an event like PyLadiesCon happen? You're thinking, yeah, online, you're just gonna put people on Zoom calls, video calls. It's actually much more complicated than that. You see all the things that has to happen in a conference. You think like, oh yeah, you don't need to book venue. Yeah, one less complexity. You don't need to worry about catering, no travel grant. Yes, indeed, some things can be removed. A lot of things can be removed, but it doesn't make it any less complicated. Like we still need to work with sponsors. We still need to look for sponsors. We still need to reach out to speakers, put out call for proposals, set up a website, social media. We need to process our videos. We still do a lot of things that happen in a regular conference. But just because we remove this complexity doesn't make it any simpler. We have other challenges. Instead of a venue, now we need to actually figure out what is our online platform. Right? We're not using Zoom. We need to decide how to best meet online. Sure, we don't have travel grants, but we have to manage speaker equipment grant. We need to actually deal with translations, video transcriptions, and have 24 hours of volunteer coverage. So we need to have more collaborations, more help from volunteers ahead of the conference. And we need to do this asynchronously, taking consideration of people's time zones. So here's just some examples of what the volunteers do. Like our volunteers actually review talks that was submitted, check for the video, audio quality. Sometimes we need to chase our speakers, like remind them, hey, the deadline is coming, we haven't seen your video yet, please submit. Because we need to translate their video, we need to translate their talk, transcribe it. So we basically do our own video production and publishing. And you started asking, like, there are video production services you can pay for. Why don't you just hire translators, subtitles, or whatever? We tried. It's not that we don't want to, but because we're free, we didn't generate income. We could not afford this. And that's why it creates a really strong dependency to our volunteers. And we have even more tasks that needs help from volunteers, like actually working with our sponsors, fulfilling our obligations to sponsors, preparing promotional cards, social media, a lot of things that everything's done by volunteers. And as the organizer, our job is not to actually do all those ourselves. We actually want to enable our volunteers so that they can do this. And in order to enable them, we need to give them the right tools, the right access. They need access to our speakers' data, our internal documentation, sponsorships data, passwords to social media accounts, a lot of things. But you know, some of this data we need to give access to. They contain private, confidential information. For example, when I run when I run PyCascades, I have access to people's billing information, last 4 numbers of credit card, home address, postal code, or zip codes. And these are the things that I need to really carefully consider before sharing. And so I need to keep track, who are our volunteers, What access do they have? Do they have access to the right things? And keeping track is not just so they have the right access, but also I can revoke access when they no longer need. So, and also I need to keep track of people so that I can thank them for, and giving them recognition for helping out for volunteering. So that's also complicated. How do you do this? Do you have project management tool, Jira, Asana, Trello, No. Those things cost money. Yes, there are free versions, but it doesn't work. It's not sufficient for a group of our size. You know what doesn't cost money? Spreadsheets. And I know for a fact, I run 9 conferences. All of the conferences I mentioned, they also run on spreadsheets. If you ever see a sign-up form, that's just the front end of spreadsheets. The back end, the data they receive is spreadsheets, okay? PyCon US, you probably already fill in a number of forms that ends up in spreadsheets, like the question to the Python Steering Council, that's a form, becomes a spreadsheet. You want to attend some of the summits, packaging summits, typing summits, language summit, also spreadsheets. There's no app, it's just they look at spreadsheets. We have so many. Volunteer sign up, that's a spreadsheet, speaker scheduling, moderator scheduling, sponsorship, even our finances is in the form of spreadsheets, design assets, transcriptions, all of these spreadsheets, just spreadsheets. And here's an example of one of the spreadsheets we need to work with. This is our speaker management spreadsheet, and we have a list of speakers, their talk title, time zone that we have to copy 3-4 times, because how do you change time zones on those spreadsheets? And this is just a third of this spreadsheet. You have to actually have a really big monitor. I have a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor just so I can read conference spreadsheets. You have to scroll to the way all the way back to see even more information. And look at this. How do you read the text so tiny? I don't know, we have so many. So all of our spreadsheets look just like that one. So we have multiple spreadsheets. And not only these are hard to read, it's so hard to share with our volunteers. It's really hard to manage access permissions, like we need to share the entire sheet or nothing at all. But without the right access, our volunteers can't do their work. And the data in the spreadsheet is not normalized. Just imagine just now, the same time zone column. We just have to copy paste into, manually create different columns for the same information. Duplicated info across all different spreadsheets, copy pasting. And we realized we're using these spreadsheets wrong. I'm sure there is a better way to do this. I'm sure spreadsheets good for something, not for running a conference. So we identified the issue, no spreadsheets. Then we started thinking, what can we do? Can we improve it? And one of the things we realized is that, okay, let's just write more documentation so people can know how to actually work with our spreadsheets. So we started writing documentation. We started writing all of our docs. We decided to make it open source instead of in private documents, so that other people, not only we get to read this, but also we get to share this with other community members or other conference organizers when they're asking, how do you normally handle thing A? And we said, now I'm just sharing our real documentation instead of some, private docs. You can check out our documentation at conference.pyladies.com/docs. And while we're writing these docs, we started thinking, the things we are writing down, if this, do that. If volunteer joins, give them these access rights. If a team lead joins, give them these other resources. Then this is not documentation. This is algorithm. This, like you could write pseudocode, like this is if else, for loop. There is application logic here. So then we started thinking, okay, maybe we can automate this. If we can write code, we can automate some things, right? We started thinking, okay, let's start writing scripts, let's start automating, yeah, you can use Python in Excel, right? Just write Python code, process data from spreadsheets, and do things. Yeah, we started doing those. We started writing Python scripts, also open source, reading and writing from spreadsheets, interacting with APIs, G Drive. We have a script that auto-generates conference certificates at the end of the conference. We also have a script to actually automate the G Drive for our speakers. And you can look at them. They are open source. The thing is, with looking at open source Python script is this. Sharing them is still hard. Like, I did not have unit tests. I didn't write CI. I just test them on my computer locally. Like, I don't know if it's gonna work in other whatever Python versions you use. I hope it works. So, I think everybody who ever gives tutorials, like ever try telling people like, oh, install dependencies. You need to spend a whole day just to set up their local environment, activate virtual environments. This is still hard in Python. So even though we have scripts, automation, open source, but if nobody is running it, if I'm still the only one using it, I'm still the bottleneck, this still doesn't solve anything. And we're thinking about all of these challenges. Like, we started even asking, like, what are we doing this for? What do we want out of this? Why are we spending time and energy to put the conference when all the work we end up doing is record keeping, administrative, looking at spreadsheets, copy-pasting spreadsheets. And we have to remind ourselves the reason we exist, the mission of the PyLadies community. We want to help more women and underrepresented group members to become active participants and leaders in Python open source community. Copy-pasting spreadsheets does not serve our mission. It is invisible work. It does not build leaders in open source. So if the only way to contribute to the community is to copy-paste spreadsheets, that's not impact. Yeah, of course, it's important, it needs to be done. It's not something to be proud of. And invisibility does not hit communities the same way. It hurts our community more than it hurts others. PyLadies exist because women and underrepresented people in the tech are already fighting to be visible, to prove our skills, to be recognized for equality. Spreadsheets labor makes it harder. And I've also been contributing to open source a long time, and one thing I hear from everybody, the reason they're not contributing to open source is because they don't have time. But the reality is this, contributing to open source is privilege. Not everybody has the privilege of free time. And this is one thing I want people to realize about the PyLadiesCon community, the people who are behind PyLadiesCon, our volunteers, our core organizers. We contribute not because we have a lot of free time and have no idea how to spend it. The volunteers of PyLadiesCon do not have that privilege. The value we bring is not free time. It is skills and expertise. Our volunteers' time is too valuable to be spent copy-pasting rows from one sheet to another. And when you spend skilled people's time on work that doesn't actually require their skill, you're wasting contributions. So last year, we said, no, no more. No more spreadsheets. We need a real infrastructure, a conference infrastructure. We need a real database. And we can do this. We have the technology. We are developers. And if there's no platform apps out there that works for us, we're not going to wait for someone else to come up with a tool for us. If no one else is solving this for us, we will lead. We're going to build it ourselves. Like, isn't this what open source is about? Isn't it what Python is for? Isn't this what Django is for? So by building and actually investing in our infrastructure, we want to be able to scale up our operations. We want to enable more volunteers despite of our limited resources and time. We want to create opportunities for members to contribute to open source projects, to give visibility of what really happens when you run a conference. Like, look at all of those if-else, all the emails we're sending. It's not simple. And we want our conference to be sustainable. We want knowledge to be shared. And in the end, we just want to be Pythonistas. We want to solve problems with Python. So let me present to you the PyLadiesCon web portal at portal.pyladies.com. And this is 100% open source, PyLadies owned, 100% test coverage. We wrote a lot of unit tests with PyTest, Python and Django, PostgreSDB. Our work is so complex enough that require at least 6,000 lines of Python code. And we want it to be easy for people to contribute to this, and so we want them to be able to run this easily on their local machine. The project is Dockerized, and as part of local development setup, we included test data with scripts you can run. So you're not playing around with real spreadsheets that messed up things. There is a test data, creates a lot of different users, makes it easy for people to run and test locally. We document everything, and thanks to our close relationship with the PSF, the portal is hosted on PSF's infrastructure. It is deployed to Cabotage, which is the same infrastructure that hosts PyPI, and we're thankful for that. And also thanks to the PSF, we were given access to PSF Mailgun account. And this is what allows us to send a lot of automated emails from the portal. And people say, oh, building a web app is an overkill, it's too much. You need to set up users, creating a login page, all that. But because we use Django, this is a solved problem. You could use a library called Django All-Auth. That's what we've been using. It handles everything, login, logout, password reset, even email verification. You don't have email verification with spreadsheets. And I could get this set up quickly. I only need to adjust some email templates, some HTML templates. And because of a lot of the work involves sending automated emails, sending to volunteers, to sponsors, we need to be able to test these emails. So we've been using MailDev, which provides a web interface so that we can receive emails during local development. We could see how the email looks like. And even though we are trying not to use spreadsheets anymore, sadly, our stakeholders still use spreadsheets. When we talk to the PSF, they still have spreadsheets. When we talk to the Global Council, they still want to see our finances in spreadsheets. It's okay, because there is a library like Django import-exports. We could export our data into spreadsheets. Because we use Django now, we can have better data access management. We could write code to restrict access to certain pages, certain views, certain fields. And we are using things like user passes text test mix-in, and we get to create our own versions of this mix-in so that certain page is available to admin and while the other is available to regular volunteers. And just want to share like how it differs working with spreadsheets and with our portal. So this is how we used to manage our volunteers with spreadsheets. Like you need first, as I said, big monitor to look at the spreadsheets. See people who signed up, we look at them, we need to review them, and then open our email, write them invitation email, then go back to the spreadsheet, mark them as done, invited, rejected, do this 100 times back and forth, spreadsheets and email. It's hard. But now, I can do this on my phone. We have a portal, everything's clicked, the text looks big, accessible, responsive, scrolling up and down, and with a simple button press, emails got sent automatically, all in one screen, no context switching. This helps us do things faster. And now the portal does all the email sending. Like we used to have to write all of this by hand. Sometimes we make mistakes, copy-pasted the wrong things from the spreadsheet. Sometimes we forgot to write the email. People are waiting to hear whether they're gonna volunteer or not. And because we forgot having to switch context between spreadsheets and email. Now this is automated. Another thing that we improved, our sponsorship management. And the thing here is that we work with the PSF, as I mentioned. They handle sponsorship contracts. So we approach our sponsors. We have our own internal spreadsheets of who did we talk to. But once a sponsor committed, now we have to share data with the PSF saying, hey, please prepare the sponsor contract. Here's the info, like copy from our sheet to theirs. Very complicated. But now, I just do this in one click. There's a button that sends an email to PSF accounting. No copy pasting, no spreadsheets on our side. And before, when we used to have to share spreadsheets, we share these really long URLs, nonsensical, like gibberish. You don't know what sheet is this, what form being shared. What did you just send me in this text? I don't know. Do I bother clicking? Who knows? And even when we actually tried naming our sheets, we don't know which one's real because one day we have a spreadsheet, we call it V1, tomorrow it's changed, now it's V2, and we say, okay, this is final, and then we copy it, so copy of final V2. Which spreadsheet does what? But now, our URLs not only shorter, it's actually meaningful. We know exactly what links we are clicking. We don't need to spend extra time copying spreadsheets URL into a shortener, URL shortener. We just share the real link. Sharing links that actually describe the content. We have a single authoritative source of truth. Oh, what if we used to make mistakes in our forms, in typos, translations incorrect? Before the portal, the burden is on us. People would write to us saying something's wrong with the form, missing this and that. We have to locate which spreadsheets I need to update. Now, no forms. We're open source. I just say, okay, open the pull request. You fix it. So, creating a brand new web app is hard. But once you have it set up, there's so many things you can do with it. It's easy to add new features once you take that little investment in the beginning. And thanks to this portal, we're able to improve the efficiency of our operations. In 2025, we were more successful than ever The conference raised $55,000 US dollars in sponsorships. This is more than the first 2 years combined. More than twice of the first 2 years combined. Thank you. And we now have database with sponsorship information. So we could build public dashboards, shows real-time live information of how we're doing, how far we are from our goals, how many sponsors we actually have. We couldn't do this before the portal. Like the data used to be in spreadsheets, and I can't share with you because it's a big spreadsheet with confidential information. I don't need to share you our sponsor's email address. But now with this portal, I could pick and choose. I could surface the data that are important to our community. Before this, you might not realize just how hard it is to get sponsors. Like, oh, you see, oh, you got 20 sponsors, good. You didn't get to see the 40 others who said no, but we spent the time talking to them. 40 others who ghosted us. And this is real life data. Yes, there is a yellow sign. There's still one sponsor who haven't paid us today. But this is transparency. This is what's important in open source community. And we treat this as our obligation to the community that we serve for the accountability. Now with dashboards, we can show charts, sponsors, corporate world, they love charts, they want to see pie charts. Of course, you also say you could create charts from spreadsheets, not with ours, because we were copy-pasting. Internal spreadsheets, PSF spreadsheets, which one is real? Which one is up to date? After all of those copy-pasting, we lost track. Which one should we chart from? Now, one database, one source of truth. Anytime there is a change in sponsorships, proceeds, registration, dashboards gets updated automatically without any of us needing to be involved, having to copy-paste, without us having to share you, here's the new final V2 spreadsheets. And this is what matters to sponsors, to community members, that they can see these numbers are real anytime to show impact and proof of our work. Now we have our volunteer data on the portal. It is easy for me to showcase and give recognition to volunteers. I really get to easily celebrate and highlight their contributions. I know who they are, I know where they're from, their strengths, their skills, what exactly did they do, how did they contribute to our community. And now we could provide multi-language support. We already have Brazilian Portuguese language support. There are some PRs for adding other language, so we can better serve our global community this way. And with the web portal, now we can actually work with third-party apps. We can use APIs and webhooks. We are already integrating with our ticketing system so that we could get live data about our attendees. These numbers are also updated automatically when somebody registers. We didn't need to open spreadsheets, crunch some numbers. Sponsors want to know who are attending your conference. We just share them this link. Look at it. So our volunteer management and sponsorship management are now in the portal, but actually we still have other spreadsheets. We didn't have time and resources to implement everything we need. Running a conference itself is already complicated, so we were only able to implement a couple things. Slowly but surely, we actually want to be at spreadsheets 0. We want more spreadsheets replaced and implemented. Here's just some idea of what it could look like if we have more apps instead of spreadsheets. So instead of one giant spreadsheet about all of our speakers, maybe we could have a nice speaker dashboard where they get to track their progress, their status. They could see what are their responsibilities. They could see whether their video has been translated, whether their video has been reviewed, like some interesting and meaningful state of being a speaker. We could provide like individualized, personalized portal. So speakers themselves get to see what they sign up for, maybe see a timeline, the progress until the conference, a checklist of what they're expected to provide. What about our finance and budget spreadsheets? So maybe instead of spreadsheets with tiny text where anyone can actually change numbers and make mistakes, we could have a real database and have audit trail to our community's finances. Like we could even further extend the public dashboard, and we could surface even more important information about our finances. We could provide even more transparency of where your donations and sponsorships are being used, so you know exactly the impact of your sponsorships. So maybe you can help us. Maybe you can contribute and help us replace more spreadsheets, or you can be part of our organizing team. That's another way to participate. You can help with those translations, write documentations, and you can support our community by donating and sponsoring. And I want to give a shout out to all of the PyLadiesCon core team for their hard work to achieve this success. Like everything that was done, the team did it together. Every single one of them contributed their unique and diverse skills and expertise to bring this conference. And most of them are actually here at PyCon US, except for Na and Vicky, who couldn't come. So you might already run into them. So if you have any questions or want to know how you can get involved and help out with our future conferences, you can talk to any one of us. We are planning to host an open space, PyLadiesCon open space tomorrow, Sunday. Be on the lookout for that. And thank you so much for listening. And thank you. So, if I may, I have time, right? Do I have time? I have one more no spreadsheets personal project. So I would love to get feedback about this talk. I actually built a personal survey and feedback app. It's completely anonymous, and in the end of it, I don't receive it in a spreadsheet. It's my own app for feedback. So if you can scan the QR code, then tell me how I did here. I would appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. Sure.
Hi Mariatta, I just wanted to ask, like, instead of spreadsheets, why did you not use Tableau, Dask, Array, Streamlit, and such open source platforms that could even help for all of these, like dashboard, visualization, and monitoring of stuff like that?
I think one of the considerations, I didn't get to say it here, is that we own the data ourselves. Is hosted on PSF's infrastructure and not some third party. And I think it's just a choice we are making. Yeah, that's the short answer. To not depend on third parties and like not to share confidential data with third party services.
Great talk, thank you.
Thank
the
you.
only question that I had was about the timeline. When did you decide to make this change, and how long did it take to get to where you are?
I think shortly after the 2024 conference, we did like December, we had a retro, we decided like, let's build something better, come up with some proposals. I think the first time we pushed it and made it live is around, I have to look, like April 2025, May 2025. And by PyCon US, we already started using the portal to take people who sprint with us. We get to give a shout out because now I know who sprinted with us. So it was not long. Yeah.